Hello, fellow nurse entrepreneurs. One of the things that I've always wanted to do was I always wanted to help nurses work from anywhere, pretty much have their flexibility, pretty much have their freedom so that they could do whatever they wanted to do.
Joining VP Nursing was one of the best decisions that I could have ever made. If I was to have a regret, it would be that I didn't join sooner.
If they wanted to be with their children, if they wanted to be with their families, they can do exactly what they wanted to do.
Ola is the type of person, she's not going to let you stay the same. The way she levels up her clients in every area of their lives.
I could not have imagined being a nurse with my own business, being in this space with so many amazing people, with a coach that 1,000,000% cares about what my outcome is going to be.
And so here at VP Nursing, we teach nurses how to work from their computers anywhere around the world, making money, owning their own time, building profitable nurse coaching, consulting, and service-based businesses. And so now we're at the beach and we're working at the beach and we're having a great time. We're doing a brand photo shoot. It's an amazing time. So if you want to learn how to work from anywhere around the world, creating that flexibility, creating that freedom for yourself, but monetizing the knowledge that you already have, join us at VP Nursing Business Academy. Good morning. Good morning. So this morning we have Miss Vikki Brown, who is one of my friends. She is amazing. We go to church together. And so I wanted to bring her on because she told me about her story. And I was like, it's such an amazing story. So we need to hear about it, especially in the climate of today. So we ask that you like, share, and comment on this podcast so that we can get the word out. Because, you know, when you fire the head of the CDC, and then when you cut the Medicaid, we have to live better lives. We have to live much healthier lives. And so she's going to tell you kind of how she did hers, and it's an amazing story. So I encourage you, if you want to get healthy, if you want to get thin and cute, I encourage you to stay on for this. So Miss Vikki, tell us who you are in your own words.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, V, so much for the invitation. All right, so I am Vikki Brown. I am a health educator, a creative chef, and I am a faith-fueled encourager. How about that? And through my company, Ingredients for Life, I teach people how to eat and how to move and how to live in a way that honors their body, but also honors their beliefs. And so whether I am coaching someone, or I'm out in my backyard in my garden, or I'm challenging a group of people at church to be better than they are, I think it all leads back to that one truth, and that is that that God has given us everything to heal ourselves. We just need to return to it. So that's my motto, and that's what I'm sticking to.
I love that. I love that. So we want to go back to, I want to first say that this is not the first time that we've been on this podcast trying to get this podcast right. So Miss Vikki is the definition of resilience and making sure that things are the way that they should be. So I want to thank you for that publicly. So the next thing, I want to talk about what really led to the journey, like what was going on with you that made you want to change your lifestyle.
Yeah, well, you know that old adage that says when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I was very sick. I was heavy, very heavy, overweight. I hadn't been diagnosed with diabetes or hypertension, but I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, which is ankylosing spondylitis, and it affects the spine. But basically, it's inflammation in the body. I didn't know that then, but I learned it later on, and I was given a series of medications that I was supposed to take. And I did take the medication one time, methotrexate, Enbrel, and I can't think of the other one right off the top of my head. But the rheumatologist had subscribed these drugs. And then on one of the drugs, an injection, it was in a yellow bag with this big red writing on it that said, "Warning, this medication may cause cancer." And I just freaked out. It didn't make sense to me. I knew that I needed to do something about where I was at that point, but was that the only option that I had? And my mom, who is challenged with rheumatoid arthritis, tried to encourage me to take the medication consistently, and I couldn't do it, and I knew that I had to do something else, and so I started doing research, and everything pointed back to plant-based foods. So I started small. I just one thing at a time. As I read more and more, I was convinced that this was the way I needed to go. And I came across a book called The China Study by T. Colin Campbell, and it talked about um, the ills of dairy products and meats and the way that food is processed these days. They took some studies, and they studied people who had money and means, who were eating all the prime cuts and all the wonderful, I use lightly, wonderful sauces. But these people were dying of stomach cancer and colon cancer. And but then they looked at the people in the rural areas who didn't have very much, but they were eating vegetables and grains and seeds, and they were living to be 106 and beyond. So that was a light bulb to me that, I needed to change my diet. And so I did that. And I was a bit radical about it. I went raw vegan because I was introduced also to this raw veganist who had come to our church, and she just shined a light on how wonderful foods are when you don't cook them to death and you get the enzymes that feed your body. And so I was just hooked, and I couldn't get enough. I was hungry for it, and I wanted it, and I saw the changes. I went from walking to running, and I actually ran a couple of marathons. I was over 300, close to 300 pounds, and at some points probably over that. And as embarrassed as I was to even start walking in the public, I pushed through the embarrassment, I pushed through the pain, and I pushed through my stinking thinking, and my life was changed.
I love what you said about you being embarrassed and you pushing through that, because embarrassment is really about what other people think about you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the reality is that
Too.
exactly. Like, what you think about yourself is most important. Like, what everybody else thinking, it don't matter at the end of the day.
That's right. That's right.
I love it. I love it. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah. And I just want to add this in too. I wasn't a young woman when I started this process. I was 49 when I was diagnosed. So I was in my 50s rebuilding myself again. Right. And I couldn't just do it by science or by what I read. It was a faith walk, and it still is a faith walk. And to be reminded, I think that if I look at John 10:10, that talks about how the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but Christ has come that we might have life and have it more abundantly. I hold on to that, because it's a reminder that who I was when I was diagnosed was somebody that wasn't who God had created me to be. But somehow I had come into that, and because of my stinking thinking, because of the lies that have been told to me, and sometimes it's not even all of what we eat, is what's eating at us. And so there was a whole process for me. But I had to come to grips with the fact that food is meant to heal us. It's meant for us to enjoy it and to have fellowship and all those good things, but it's ultimately it's to fuel us and to make us better and not to harm us. But I had to go through all of that to get to where I am now. And I'm still learning. It's not about perfection. It's a process.
I think one of the things that I really like about, because, you had told me the story about you being a raw vegan. And I remember, we had this fair at church where you had your turmeric shots on, what is it called? It's called something.
Glow getter.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I remember coming up and I was like, I tasted it, and I do a turmeric shot too, but mine does not taste as good as yours does. And so I was like, I need some of that. Okay. And so I was like, give me some of that. And for those of you who don't know, turmeric is really, really good for your joints, right?
That's right.
So it decreases the inflammation in your joints. And so my mother had osteoarthritis, and it was crippling for her. And if it was not for that, I remember specifically, I was 25 years old, and I had my pinky. I felt like it was hurting in the joint. And I was like, what I'm not about to do is do this. So let me figure out some natural way in order to figure out how not to have the arthritis. And so then I heard about turmeric. And so I was like, well, okay, well, let's just let's do some of that. And so I would take a pill every day. And then I got to the shots where I could actually have the raw turmeric, the turmeric powder. And so I said, well, let me do that. And so then I started doing that every single solitary day. Like, it's not a day that goes by that I don't do that. And so it really has helped me. Like, I don't have any joint pain, at all, pretty much. And so it's really, really good. So I'm grateful for that. But you went from not being able to walk, they said you won't be able to walk, to running marathons. How many marathons have you ran?
So I've done several. I've done 3 half marathons and just 2 marathons. So, but I've done 10 milers, 5 milers. I did a bunch of 5Ks leading up to that. And now we are doing a 5K at church, as you know. And so I've been coaching some people, which has been a real joy for me to see people get out there and walk and do a little jogging and to be consistent and to see them excited about it. That's really amazing to me.
So there's a couple of things, because we talked about this. First of all, you said that I did just 2 marathons. Like, that's not just, okay. I just want to let you know that. Okay. The second thing is that you talked about the fact that people think that a 5K is actually 5 miles. And it is not 5 miles. It is 3.1 miles. Like, you can do this.
Yeah, that's right. And when you do a race, you don't always have to run the entire race. You can if you want to, and kudos to you. But you can walk, you can run, you can do however it is you need to do to get to the finish line. So, yeah. And isn't that just how life is? You don't have to be perfect. You just do what you can do to get to the finish line.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so it's on October 4th, correct? At Word Tabernacle?
That's correct. Yes.
And so how did they sign up for the race?
So you can go to Run the East, who is officiating the race for us, or you can go to wordtab.net and look under fit, and I think it's under faith and fitness, and you can find the link there.
I love it. And so I love how you said that you were 49 whenever you started this journey, because a lot of times people think, well, I'm gonna get 50 and life's gonna be over, right? And so, like, my mother lived until she was 90. I know I got 40 more years, right? So,
my mom is 92. Now listen, I walk every day. I do anywhere from 20 to 25 miles a week. I don't walk on Sundays typically, but I am 70 years old. I turned 70 in April.
Oh,
so yeah. Yeah. And so you think about it. I've been on this journey for quite some time, and I don't plan to stop. I really don't. And one of the greatest things that has come out of all of this is, of course, my own health. And I'm so grateful for that, but also that I can share the information with someone else. And not only does that help me to help others, but it keeps me accountable too, So I do detox classes and show people about fermentation and how to have sustainable gardens, because that keeps me going as well. So
I love it. And one of the things that I just want to say, because it's important, when you are in this space of, when you say inflammation, a lot of people don't understand that once that inflammation starts to show up in one place, it is showing up all over your body.
That's
And
right.
so what you have to understand is that it starts out as a finger hurting or joint pain or whatever, but then it evolves into, other disease processes like diabetes and heart disease and things of that nature, because it's not just a one size fits all. And if it's an autoimmune disease, it's a disease that's essentially attacking your body, right? And so
Yes.
you really want to be intentional about turning that around. And this is the reason. When you think about it, everything comes from, I always say Maslow's hierarchy, right? And so for those of you who don't know, what you look it up, okay, Maslow's hierarchy. But at the base of Maslow's hierarchy is your health, right?
Mhm.
And so everything hinges off your health. And you really can't get to self-actualization, which is like your purpose in life, if your health is, you're struggling with your health. Like, that is the whole thing. You really want to intentionally be intentional about your health. And of course, I think that Maslow's hierarchy, I think he had a little bit wrong, but that's just me. I think that God is at the bottom of that triangle, okay? And then it's health, and then we go on up to self-actualization.
That's
So
right.
I
Yeah.
just love, love, love the way that you're doing that. So now tell us how it was to go raw vegan. Like, what did that journey look like? What were you thinking?
Yeah, so it basically it's not that you don't eat cooked foods, but foods are typically heated above 115 degrees, and the reason for that is that you maintain all of the enzymes in the foods, and so that's the healing process. Uh, you can do warm soups, you can make like a soup in your blender, and a lot of blenders have the little capacity to warm it up a little bit, or you can make a carrot soup, for instance, in your blender, and then sit it on top of your stove at 275 degrees temperature to warm it up in the wintertime. But you can also do things like adding cayenne pepper, which brings some heat to the food, as well as ginger and those kinds of things. For me, it was more about learning recipes, using my dehydrator, learning things about like sea moss and bladderwrack and all those things that were going to help me to have a healthy gut. Fermentation, or like doing fermented pickles, and to do like onions, pickled onions, and all those kinds of sauerkraut. Learning how to do kombucha instead of buying it for $6 a bottle. Those kinds of things. But it was exciting because I could make bread, out of spinach and chia seeds, just by putting it in and making a wrap. It was exciting, and it opened up so many ideas for me of how you could truly make how you can make something that you're familiar with, like a crab cake, for instance, out of jackfruit and um, um, chickpeas and all of those kinds of things. So I was excited learning about different spices and how certain things go together and what lavender does for you. It was so exciting for me. And after 8 years, I kind of wanted, my body was healed. I didn't have any of the issues that I was told that I would have. Now I wake up sometimes, and most of it is probably from age. And I have a little back pain, but nothing like I can walk. I mean, like I just told you, I walk 20 to 25 miles a week. So I know that it works, and I've added in something. Sometimes I fall back and I'll eat seafood, or I'll eat some cheese here and there. But I know what that makes my body feel like over a period of time, and so I'll end up going back to detox myself, or going back to eating more raw foods. And so I think you have to find where your spot is. You don't have to be a staunch vegan, but I do say I encourage people to add plant-based foods into their lives, whole foods into their lives, and if they're trying to heal themselves or lose weight. Yeah.
One of the things that I like about, all the things that you've done, like what I've tasted is good. Like it's really good. Like maybe I'm not a creative like you are. I'm not a creative on the all the food side. Like it's the cold cooking thing that, tears my nerves up. But, if you ever know me, like, I don't know if you know this about me, Miss Vikki, but I don't like to cook. So anyway, but I like the things that you have brought, like they have been really good. So I think that's the side of it that a lot of people miss. But I also think that understanding how the foods make you feel. And we were talking about the fact that whenever I eat cheeses or dairy products, I start to have hot flashes. And when I don't, I don't. And so understanding what that looks like for you and your body is key, right? Because, we talked about the fact that we were born and, we were raised on this American diet that said that you need to have the vitamin D and you need to drink a glass of milk every single day. Like, I'm like,
3 meals a day. You got to have 3 meals. Yep, that's right. Yeah, it's the standard American diet that we were taught. The acronym for that is SAD. So
what's
yeah.
that? Sick and dying?
SAD, standard American diet.
Oh, gotcha.
SAD diet.
Yes, it's definitely true. And we were talking about a documentary too, which is, what was the documentary?
Sick, what is it? Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Yeah, it's about an Australian guy who goes on a journey of juicing for 30 days. He too had he was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and the juicing wiped out whatever his diagnosis was. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
You can see it on YouTube. I don't even think you have to pay for it. It's Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead.
Now, I want to go back to your thought process. Why is it that you said, I can't accept this? Like, I can't accept, what was your thought process behind that? Because, your mom was like, well, you just have to take it. And you were like, nah, I'm not going to do it. Tell me what your thought process was like and how, like, what was going through your mind at that time?
Yeah, and I'm not against science because I think that it has its place, right? But when the thought of me having to, and if I know you're probably familiar with inflammation and with arthritis and those kinds of things, and so what I would have had to have done was take that medication every day, some of them once a week. I also would have had to go in regularly to check for TB. I would have to have been very cautious about being around people because my immune system, while the drug was doing one thing to my body, it was tearing down other things in my body. So I would have to always go and get checked to make sure I didn't, I had to get shots for colds and flus and COVID and all of those things. And it just, I kept thinking, how could this make sense to me? How could I take something that I'm injecting into my body when they clearly tell me that I was going to possibly be a candidate for something even worse, like cancer? And it just, I'm not I'm not the smartest kid in the room, but that didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me, and it scared me. But I also knew scripture, and I knew that the Bible says God has given us everything pertaining to life and godliness. And so I prayed about it, and I was like, Lord, there's got to be another way. Is this my, my fate? Is this what I'm supposed to do? And it just kept feeling like, no, do something else. That I've allowed you to see this, Vikki, not to hurt you, but to let you know that, you need to take care of this. There's something going on in your body and you need to do something about it. And so I became an advocate for myself and I did something about it. And I didn't know what to do. honestly, I really didn't know. But once I asked, the doors started opening. You know, you can't see my bookshelf from here, but I have a tons of books. I've spent a small fortune on books researching recipes and why this happens, what's going on with our microbiome, why is the gut so important, what is fermentation, how, all of those things. What's the difference between regular bread and sourdough bread? Because I needed to know, and we don't, doctors don't tell us. They don't tell us because they don't really have that much nutritional information for themselves anyway. And they're not even geared that way. They're geared to, like you said earlier in this podcast, they are geared to keep you on those kinds of medications. That's what they're, and
we were talking about, and this is just to tell everybody, we were talking about, so I was in, I worked as a readmissions manager. And one of the things that I said initially as a readmissions manager is, because I brought the readmissions rate from 12% down to 9%. And so what happened was I said, well, we can't keep working on the back end. We're going to have to start working on the front end. We're going to have to start educating the public on how to eat better, because I knew that food heals. Like it was no question in my mind, right? Because of the things that I had heard and the documentaries like the one that you mentioned. And so I said that. And when I went into, who was no longer with the hospital, I shall say this, but I went into his office and I was like, listen, I said, why don't we got to work on the front end of this. We got to make sure that this is not the way that this happens. And he said, well, we don't want to keep patients out of the hospital. And when he said that, I was like, my mission, vision, and values does not align with this, because my goal is to keep patients out of the hospital. And what you don't understand is that there's two sides of the hospital. The hospital is a business, right? At the end of the day. And so, they're there to make profits. And so you have to take control of your own health in order to be intentional about that. And I love what you said, because, many times we don't understand the reasons why we go through the things that we go through. But the reality is that the reason why we go through the things that we go through is to form our purpose, right? And so now your purpose has changed, and your purpose is what it is. So a lot of people look at, woe is me, I'm going through this. Oh my God, this is me. Like, get over yourself. Okay. Yeah. It is not about you. At the end of the day, most of the time, it's about what your purpose is, and whether you have one purpose at this time, and then you'll have an elevated purpose at a later date. Then that is what that's about. So you don't go through the things that you go through for you. You go through the things you go through so that you can get on the other side, so that you can tell somebody else how to get through that thing. And so once you look at it like that, then when you going through it, then you're not tore out your frame, and you're not like, oh my God, this is me. Yeah. So I love, love, love everything that you said, and I love you. So, so now we have some rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready for the rapid fire questions?
Okay. All right.
What has been the most rewarding thing about this journey that you have been on?
Wow. There's so many, but I would have to say that I have taken something that was meant for my detriment and turned it into something. I didn't turn it into anything, and it didn't take God by surprise, but he's allowed me to flip it around and be for my good. So that, just as you said about purpose, that this was part of my calling. How would I have known that had I not gone through what I went through? And so that's the biggest reward for me. One of the biggest rewards, and is that I could take that situation in my life and see how God is always working things out for our good. Always.
Always, always, always. Those who are called according to his purpose. Pastor Gay said, listen, there is very few absolutes in the Bible, and that's one of them. Okay.
That's one of them. Yep.
What is a common misconception about weight loss?
That it is something that you do for vanity, and that once it's achieved, you can just go back to doing what you did.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's like insanity. But let's stay on this route that we're on, and that is, what know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which is in God. It's not your own, for you have been bought with a price. So you should glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which all belongs to Him. So if you're fat and sick, you're not a good witness for God. And listen, I was fat and sick, and I was a Christian then, and so I kind of separated one thing from the other, and it's a whole package.
Yep.
God is not just interested in our spirits. He wants us to be well and to prosper. He wants us to be well and be prosper. And look, we got diabetes, hypertension, and ankylosing spondylitis like I had. If we're doing that, how can we be a good witness, not for ourselves, and for the body of Christ, and for those who are looking at us? And like I said, you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to be the wonderful size, but be healthy, and it's obtainable. It really is. And there are a lot of people in the body of Christ that are so sick, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart, because I know God wants better for us. He wants better for us.
That's right. That's right. That's such a good explanation right there. That's so good. Now, what are you reading now?
Well, we're reading through the Bible, so I'm a little behind, but that's what I've been doing. But I've been rereading a book by Hannah Hurnard. It's called Hind's Feet, and it's Hind's Feet and High Places, and it's taken from Habakkuk, and it's an allegory about this little animal who goes through struggles like we do, and his companions are suffering and sorrow. But it's because of those things that he gets to go to those high places. So it's really,
I love it. I love it. What are some of the biggest lessons that you have learned in business?
Ooh, I'm still learning. That you have to give it your best, and then some more. It's a challenge to you, and a lot of times in business, you don't know what to do. You learn as you go. I think I'm learning that I need a coach. I'm learning that it's not just about the creativity part. You have to have a business mindset too. And there has to be a balance, and that you can't do everything on your own, and it might be okay. Well, it is okay to say that. I don't know how to do something. I need somebody who's an expert to help me in this way.
I love that, because I tell people all the time that your creativity can get you to 6 figures, but your creativity, but your business acumen can get you to 7 figures. And people don't understand that. They don't understand that thing. I will always have a coach. Always. It's a non-negotiable for me. And the reason why is because in order for me to bring it back to my community, I have to be fed it myself. So there are some areas in which, we all need some help, right? And so I I believe that a coach always needs a coach. So that's great. Now, who is somebody living or dead that you want to have a conversation with?
Well, I have to say my grandmother. I would say, I think about chefs too, like Anthony Bourdain or Bourdain, but my grandmother, I mentioned this to you, was a foodie before there was even a foodie, a name or title for it. She always liked experimenting with different foods, and she never wrote a recipe down, but she could cook like, nobody's business. And I would just want to talk with her about, just some of the recipes that she had, and just her whole view on food itself. And, how like I said, she lived to be 99, and just to kind of get some of that knowledge from her that I took for granted until she was gone. So I'd love to talk with her again if I could.
Oh, I love that. So what's your favorite movie?
Well, you promise you won't think I'm corny?
Listen, it don't matter what I think. Remember?
One of them that comes to mind is so crazy is Pretty Woman. Who doesn't like Pretty
Oh, I
Woman?
love that movie. I love that movie.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite movies. It
Yeah.
almost reminds me of Cardi B now in Trial, like how she acts. Like it's a listen, it's a whole situation over there. So how do you define success?
I define success by what my success has profited others, you know,
Mm,
because I'm only as successful as I reach out to others to become as successful. So our pastor has his mantra is everyone thriving. And I think that you are successful when what you do encourages others and elevates them as well.
I love it. Now, what's your life's motto?
Keep going. Just
Mm,
keep going. Don't stop. Keep going.
I
It
love
gets
it.
better. Keep going. Just keep going.
I love it. So now where can we find you? Where can the people find you so they can get some of
So
that good glow gutter juice that you got going on? Where
yeah,
can they
so
find you?
I have filed trademarks for Ingredients for Life, and I ran into some issues with an infringement. Everything's fine, and we've come to a settlement. But I had to change my name from Ingredients, the number 4 Life, to Ingredients FOR Life, and so that meant that I had to revamp my whole website. And so the website is not up right now. But you can find me on Instagram under Ingredients for Life or I for Life Vikki, as well as TikTok. And, maybe we can post my email address somewhere in the comments here.
Okay. All right. Well, it has been a pleasure talking to you, Miss Vikki.
You too,
So
always.
I ask that you like, share, comment, let everybody know about Miss Vikki because listen, at the end of the day, we need to be intentional about having better health. Period. Period,
Amen.
period. So I am super, super excited. So you ladies and gentlemen, you have an amazing rest of your day and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.